GOP field narrows, and as Donald Trump maintains his lead, who could possibly be his vice president? That's right, we're playing that game. Earlier today, in fact, Neil Cavuto asked about Cruz potentially being that running mate, and this is what Donald had to say.
What about Ted Cruz? Would you consider him?
Well, he's a smart guy. He's certainly a smart guy. But, I don't want to get into that now, Neil, because I just don't want to be talking about it now. But okay. I would say that it would be better for me to choose somebody that's very political that can help us out politically, because I've got a lot of other qualities, and I'm very political also. But
so
I don't think we need two guys like me.
Joining me now, Georgette Mosbacher, Steve Rogers, Morgan Ortegas, and Charlie Kirk. Hey, let me go to you, Morgan, first on this. Isn't there a lot of people saying some of these folks dropping out or are making overtures to Donald Trump, whether it's Mike Huckabee and going to that debate after the debate, if you remember that. Certainly Chris Christie at the diner yesterday with Donald Trump, and then the long phone call after the loss last night. Maybe people saying Ben Carson would make a good Surgeon General. Even he admitted to Neil Cavuto that he would listen if offered. What do you think?
Well, I think this is something that's certainly natural to happen at this part of the race. But these candidates who are dropping it out are not only talking to Trump, they're all talking to each other. They're trying to figure out where the horse race is going. If you look today, the New York Times is already reporting that Woody Johnson, who heads Jeb Bush's financial part of his campaign, has reached out to Christie's donors in New York. Christie had very big pockets of donors in New York. So there will be a big race between Bush, Rubio, and Kasich to try to get the donors from him, from Huckabee. So this is all natural part of the race.
You do fundraising for Bush, right?
I do, yes.
Okay. Have you guys reached out to any of these people? Do you know what Bush's campaign has?
As I said, yes, Woody Johnson, who heads the fundraising apparatus for the Bush campaign.
Okay, I thought he was with Christie. I didn't know he was with Bush.
No, he's with Bush. That was actually a big contention early on in the race because he chose Bush over Christie. So he is one of the most prominent businessmen in New York, reaching out to all of the big Christie donors. So this is a lot of the behind the scenes, what you're going to see going on. While some people may have reached out to Trump, no one has endorsed him yet. So I think when it comes to, clearly Trump has won a primary, Cruz has won a primary. So Kasich, Rubio, Bush will be battling in South Carolina, saying, make me that third alternative.
Hey, Steve, what do you make of the notion now that the establishment lane, right before New Hampshire, let's say before that debate, it felt like Rubio was emerging to be a really strong contender in the establishment lane, particularly with Cruz and Trump beating each other up. And now it feels like there's no viable candidate there.
A couple of points I'd like to make. One, Donald Trump has gotten an endorsement. That endorsement is from the American people, and it's begun in New Hampshire. Number two, the establishment-linked candidates, they were going nowhere when the gate opened up. And that's something, Charles, that the RNC could never buy. They could never figure it out.
So even though last night in New Hampshire, 49% of the voters said they wanted an establishment candidate, and if you were to add up all the establishment numbers, they were actually much more than Donald Trump. So, I mean, can we totally say that lane was dead before last night, or that you feel more confident right now that it's done?
I feel very, very confident that the people in that lane are going to go to Donald Trump. I've said from the beginning, he's going to be the next president of the United States. There's a movement going on across this country. I see it. I'm sure a lot of Americans see it, but the RNC's yet to see it. And when they do, Donald Trump is going to the White House.
What do you think, Georgette?
Well, I think that's an interesting prediction, but I think there's a long road from New Hampshire to the White House. And I think
we can't do the swearing-in ceremony tomorrow.
No, not only
Come
that,
on, let's do it, George.
But actually, I think if you look at this and what has just happened in the last week, I mean, Rubio was the darling coming out of Ohio, and then Christie knocked him down. Maybe didn't knock him out. I don't know if this is his Rick Perry moment or not, but I do know one thing, and that Bush needs to knock him out. Bush is going to go after him right now. He's got to get Rubio out of the way if Bush really wants to truly resurrect himself.
Right. Well, let me ask you, Charlie, and we're talking about Rubio coming out of Iowa with all that momentum. Even though he came in third, the narrative was he did so much better. He gave a great press conference. But then it was his inability to speak on his feet, that one of his great claims to fame. Even, I got to tell you, even when he admitted that he made a mistake last night, he kept glancing down at his notes, and I found that disturbing.
Yeah, me too. And it's interesting. Rubio probably played Iowa better than any other politician that we've seen in the last 20 years. He comes in third, but he acted like he won, and the media went along with it. And then he comes in New Hampshire with all this momentum and undecideds going his way. And unfortunately, he did not have a very good debate. I mean, he came and he kind of played in this narrative that he was scripted and robotic, and Kasich pounced on it. And you saw a lot of the late undecideds going to Trump and to Kasich. And Marco Rubio has a lot of work to do coming into South Carolina. Bush has a lot more money than Marco Rubio does. Bush is kind of doing the Marco Rubio Iowa thing where he's pretending like he won even though he came in fourth. But Bush was going to have his brother stumping out in South Carolina. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a do or die moment right now for the Rubio campaign, because they will now have come in third in Iowa and fifth in New Hampshire. And what are they supposed to say after South Carolina if they don't have the top three finish? It's going to be a do or die moment for the Rubio campaign.
Feels like a do or die moment, I got to tell you, for Rubio and your man Bush. I mean, listen, I know he's got all his cash, all his organization, but if he can't break the top three in the first three contests, doesn't he realize sticking around only makes it worse for makes his worst dream probably come true?
I would say that you could have that argument for both Rubio and Kasich as well. I mean, I think it's misdirected to only say that to Bush, especially whenever he.
Well, I was saying Bush and Rubio. Yeah. Although you can't throw Kasich in there, and I got to tell you, listen, I don't put Kasich on the same level, in part because of the cash and the footprint. He
has the least amount of cash of anybody who's left, and he's polling under 2% in South Carolina.
Kasich went into New Hampshire as a tactic, not as a strategy.
Right.
And the tactic worked.
It worked well.
Where does he go now?
I disagree. We brought this up earlier today when you and I were talking. I disagree that the strategy worked. I think everyone in the media is saying Kasich went all in and it worked.
No, I think
he's double-digit loss.
Worked.
But it was a double-digit loss in New Hampshire. I don't think that's a win.
But Charles,
I don't think it gets him any momentum.
I think for the good of the country, and we've said this before, those who are falling under a certain percentage, bail out. And God bless all of them. I mean, my hat's off to all of them. It's a tough job to do. But for the good of the United States of America, start to think about getting. Well,
then that brings us maybe to something of an elephant in the room with Dr. Ben Carson. And listen, I know he should do better in South Carolina because of evangelicals and more conservative voters. But is he really at this point kind of spinning his wheels? I mean, is the greater part of valor to say, hey, I'm going to step out and support the ultimate nominee?
Yes, absolutely. But that's not the way politics works. And we don't know ultimately what he wants. He may want to be on the ticket.
George,
so he may want to play this out.
But politics hasn't worked this way forever with Donald Trump in the race. It's a great difference.
But we still have a long way to go. I repeat that. And we've seen how things can change so quickly. Rubio, now Kasich wins this, and now Bush all of a sudden. Look, a week ago, I heard people saying this was the beginning of the end of Trump after Iowa. Right. Well, Trump, this was a big win.
I am going to invite you to Donald Trump swearing in.
That's going to be a crowded thing. You got a million invites? Hey, Charlie, let me ask you, because the younger voters are playing such an important, critical role on both sides of the aisle this time. Where are they gravitating to right now?
Yeah, I mean, on the Democratic side, it's all about Sanders. I mean, they're just rejecting Hillary Clinton wholeheartedly. But on the Republican side, it's split. In Iowa, Ted Cruz won the youth vote. In New Hampshire, Donald Trump won the youth vote. And more young people are able to participate in the primary and caucus process because of increased voter access laws, especially in South Carolina. Is going to be coming up, and the youth vote will play a tremendous role in it. Marco Rubio has been courting younger voters, 18 to 31, almost exclusively. But look closely at Cruz. And the younger voters in South Carolina are usually individuals that are heavily involved in the military, a lot of military installations that are between 18 and 31 that are voters that would be in the Republican primary, and also individuals that be self-described young evangelicals. So Cruz and Trump are going to be going head-to-head down there, and I think it's going to be a deciding factor because younger voters are widely undecided.
But Cruz proved that he can pull votes in a moderate state that doesn't have a lot of evangelicals, that's libertarian. That's quite an accomplishment.
Even Steve, even you need to address this, okay? What if Cruz wins in South Carolina? Because I think he had a sort of a de facto good night, not, maybe you can even argue as much as a victory there that Rubio had in Iowa last night.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump will do what he did, like he did with Iowa. You regroup, you reorganize, you start moving, and you just keep on going to the White House. And he is going. I'm convinced. I really mean this. In my heart, I'm convinced this man's going to be the next president of the United States.
That.
And you know what? He has galvanized America. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime.
So to get back to the millennial vote, I actually think that Republicans need to be a bit concerned about this vote. I'm a millennial, so I'm always polling my friends and talking to people. Bernie Sanders has so much energy on the millennial side. And when you look at who is in college right now, I've been saying this on your network, you were probably born in 1997, 1998. So that means that you have no real concept of the Cold War. You've read about it. No real concept of socialism, the way in which, my parents or maybe our grandparents did. So I think, the Rubio campaign has argued you need someone young and fresh like Rubio to attract the millennial vote. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think when you look at Bernie Sanders, he's a 75-year-old who's winning. So it's the message.
Millennials don't always vote. I mean,
but they are for Bernie.
They did for Bernie.
Yeah.
However,
and Obama.
There are the Hispanics and the women vote that are much larger.
Yeah.
And more important to this election. And the question is, what was stunning was the women that came out for Bernie.
And let's not underestimate the intelligence of the millennial generation.
Thank you.
Let's not underestimate them. And I think you see, look, on both sides, whether it be Sanders or Donald Trump, they have galvanized every generation, every ethnicity, every cultural background in this country.
Well, I don't
That's what's
agree
good
that.
about
That's
this.
not true at all about Trump. That's true about Sanders.
And what's good about this is that they're making America great again.
Well, people are engaged.
Independence
A lot of people, so many more people are engaged right now. No matter who you feel or how you feel about any of them, you got to give a big salute to Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders.
No question.
I'm not ready to agree with you that every single person on the planet has jumped on the Trump train just yet, though, Steve.
Okay.
All right, 2016, the GOP field. This is what we do know. It's getting smaller. Chris Christie's out. Carly Fiorina are out. They're both out. 10 days to the South Carolina primary. The big thing is, what was the message from New Hampshire? What should the candidates learn? What should we learn? Because according to you guys, the media always gets it wrong.